My name is Ronnie Cruz, and this is Path of the Network Marketer.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about following through. That's right, following through. We've had pretty much an ongoing conversation the last week or so about how this is the new year. You know, we've set new goals, we've set new targets for 2023. We've also talked about the different things that go on in our minds that want to sabotage us, right? That want to keep us from actually making those changes. And then, of course, we've given you tips that you can implement to help you stay on course and counteract all those things that's going on in your mind that want to sabotage you. So today, in the conversation about follow through, we're going to give even more structure to that, give you more things that you can implement, because here's the thing. This excitement right now, it's temporary, right? It's brand new. We're still like a week into the new year. So naturally you're excited. You have a lot of enthusiasm for your new goals, your new targets that you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it this year. You're very gung ho. You're still hitting the gym, right? You just signed up. You're still hitting the gym. But ultimately what will happen is the thing that you're going after, and the enthusiasm that you have right now for it, it's going to wear off. Right? It's what in psychology and in a lot of circles is called the inception phase. I like to call it the honeymoon phase, right? Like that's why it's called the honeymoon phase, right? It's only a short period of time at the beginning of the thing that you're going to do. And that's the weird thing about our brains, our minds. You know, there's definitely that part of our mind that doesn't like change, but there is a part of our mind that enjoys newness and variety. And that's why we have things like honeymoon phases. Again, it wears out. It doesn't last long. It only is exciting to for a certain length of time. So whatever it is that you're doing, you right now, the new goal, the new target that you set for yourself, understand that there will come a time in the next couple of weeks that your excitement for it, your energy and your enthusiasm for it will run out. And what you'll be left with is this. You'll be left with none of the results yet, because results take time, outcomes take time of consistent effort to achieve. And not only will you not be left with any of the results, you'll be left with no energy and no enthusiasm. You'll also be left with the work that you still have to do, right? So it's really, really important to put down a structure that you can follow so that your brain doesn't go off and go after the next shiny thing. And that's how we fall into that next shiny thing syndrome, right? Especially as entrepreneurs, as online marketers, network marketers, you name it. I mean, even in health, right? When we're talking about health, there's always that next shiny new, health regimen, or that next shiny new trendy workout plan, right? And that's what our brains really get attached to. However, we make the mistake of not following through when that excitement and that newness wears off, when that honeymoon phase wears off. So what you can do is create structure. And I was inspired to do this episode today because there was a recent post by Mel Robbins on her Instagram. It was just one of those kind of quotes kind of situations, and in it just states so I'm just going to read it out. It says, "A dream written down is a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action becomes reality." So there's a lot of different versions of this, these particular principles, but it's basically creating structure out of the thing that you're trying to achieve, out of the goals and dreams that you want to make a reality this year, so that it keeps you on track. Because again, that excitement, that enthusiasm is going to wear off really, really soon, sooner than you might think. And so it's important to have a plan that you can follow, because following that plan and doing the action and the activities consistently every day will eventually translate into habits that create those long-term results. So, if you follow just that simple plan of writing down the goal, so that it becomes writing down a dream. Sorry, I had to read it. Writing down a dream then becomes a goal. Writing down the goal, breaking down the goal into steps, then becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action becomes reality. The way I've always talked about it in the past is, especially in the context of network marketing, is reverse engineer. Reverse engineer your goal, and I like 90 days. 90 days is a good swath of time, so that way, it's not too long that you really just you get disheartened gotten by the length of time and the lack of results. So 90 days is a good time, a good length of time to implement a plan and then take stock and reevaluate so that you can create a new plan and adjust what you need to adjust for the next 90 days, quarter to quarter, basically. So you set a goal for the quarter, like, if you want to talk about well, let's talk about health, right? If you want to lose 10 pounds in the next 90, well, I won't talk about health, sorry, because I've never had to be in a situation where I had to lose weight. I apologize. I've been not chronically, in a bad way. I've been of very good health my entire life, thankfully, knock on wood. Yeah, talking about weight loss is well, I'm underweight. Basically, that's where I was going with that. I was going to say I'm chronically underweight, but I'm just naturally a light person, so I can't talk about weight loss in this example. I apologize for rambling and wasting 30 seconds of your time. Let's talk about hitting a certain rank for your network marketing business, right? Let's say in the next 90 days, instead of hitting rank, actually hitting a certain sales goal. You set a certain sales goal of doing $1,000 in customer sales for your business in the next 90 days. For network marketers, that's pretty reasonable, especially if you're new, because this generally is a side hustle and you're doing a million other things, outside of your network marketing business, right? It's just a side gig that you do in your spare time. So let's just say, for example, to keep numbers easy, $1,000 in the next 90 days. So you're gonna have to break down what that looks like. If you want to talk about $1,000 divided by $300 a month on average for the next 3 months, and then you break that down into weekly activity. What's that going to look like? What's it going to take to get to $300 every month? Well, sell X amount of your product or service every week to equal $300 a month, right? And then you continue to break that down. Okay, so how do I reach X number of sales? Well, I have to do X number of presentations or exposures every week, and then therefore I'll break that down to every day, and then how many people do I have to talk to? So you can break it down that way, and then you have an action plan that you can follow, and ultimately the more, like, the better you do at sticking to that action plan, that the activities will ultimately become a habit, and then the next 90 days are actually going to be easier because it's already kind of ingrained within your habit, your day-to-day lifestyle. And so this can go over the same for online marketing, right? For creating influence and a presence online. Set a goal for increasing your following on Instagram by 200 people in the next 90 days, or whatever it might be. I'm just throwing out random numbers at this point, and so set the goal, right? Okay, so I have to publish once a day at least. I'm going to do one reel a day at least for the next 90 days, right? Do that. Right, and then plan out what it's going to look like. Okay, I'm going to record and create content 2 to 3 times a week in my spare time. Schedule those out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. after I've finished everything, like with supper, and I've finished helping kids with homework. I'm gonna spend the next an hour on those days to record content, so that I have enough content to publish every day. And then get to work doing that, right? Get to work doing that. The structure will help you really follow through, and doing so. Okay, so when you sit down to create the structure, if you're already kind of averse to it, right? If you're already feeling repelled by this exercise, then maybe maybe your goal isn't compelling enough for you. The target that you set for yourself isn't compelling enough for you to do the actual work. So that's something that you really got to question yourself, that you really have to evaluate and reflect on. If it's strong enough, then you'll be willing to do whatever work it takes, and we'll talk about that in another episode. But yeah, if your goal, if the outcomes, if the targets that you set for yourself this year are compelling enough for you and they mean enough to you, we talked about that in the New Year's Eve episode. If they're strong enough, then you'll be willing to do the work that you plan out for yourself, right? Because those goals are important to you. If not, then again, reevaluate and really reflect on the goal itself. Are you just throwing out goals to throw out goals and to try new things? Because remember, our brains really like newness, and going after new things can actually become a pattern, right? We can get quote unquote addicted to newness and addicted to these inception phases, addicted to these honeymoon phases, and that's why people love the next shiny object in everything that we do, right? Again, following the trend. That's why trends happen in the first place, right? Like if you look on social media, trends are there for a reason. It's because people like newness, and so. When it comes to the goals and the things that you're going after, the new tasks and the new outcomes that you want to create, really evaluate that again. Really reflect on that. Are you doing it just because it's out there and it's new to you, and you like you unconsciously are hooked to the newness of it and the freshness of it and the shiny object of it? You know what I mean? Or is this outcome, is this goal really something that matters to you enough to sit down and get to work when that enthusiasm, that excitement wears off? And the way one of the great ways to evaluate that is doing exactly what we talked about today. Create a structure to achieving those goals and those targets. And if it's too much for you to do, if it's like, man, I don't feel like doing all of this stuff, then maybe you shouldn't even try, right? Like, don't jump into something just because it feels good and it's new and exciting. Jump into something because it means a lot to you and it matters to you that you achieve that goal, that outcome, and that target. So that's my discussion for today. That's my message for today. Create a structure, however you want to do it. Like, write down the goal, create the action plan, and then put actual action behind it, so that you have daily activity, and eventually you'll achieve those things. And like I said, every 90 days is a good swath of time to do that, so that it's not too much time that you're going. And then you really lose steam after that, right? So 90-day swaths, reevaluate, set a new structure and action plan for the next 90 days. Structure. Important to following through. Otherwise, you're going to end up jumping from one thing to another, like somebody who's addicted to the honeymoon phase. Well, I mean, actually, now that I think about it, sorry, this is a longer episode than I intended for it to be. But chronic remarrying, part of it could be that people are really only are get into relationships because they like the newness of relationships, right? And they enjoy that freshness of it. But once that wears off, and you actually have to work at maintaining a relationship, because relationships do take work. People decide, okay, let me just look at greener pastures and people with newer lawns, which is a really, really bad analogy. But you guys know what I mean, right? Like, we are very drawn to newness, and newness is exciting and it gives us a lot of energy, but that does wear off. And so when it wears off, it's important to have a structure to follow, to keep you on track to achieving the goals that you want to achieve. Okay, so I've rambled long enough. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. More from me tomorrow. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.